This is your dose of daily market wisdom with Master Trader Nick Santiago. Starting from humble beginnings, Nick has been beating the markets for over 2 decades. He shares with you his take on the profitable trades that will have you moving towards financial freedom in no time at all. To see an in-depth review of his track record and much more, go to inthemoneystocks.com. Welcome, and this is your daily dose of daily market wisdom with Master Trader Nick Santiago. I'm Kerry Lutz. Today is July 27th, and this is show number 84. Well, Nick, gold, silver, they've been moribund. Look, I got into this podcasting game back in June of 2011. That's when I became a full-time podcaster, and I was hoping that mining companies would sponsor my show. And then, of course, gold made its peak in, I think, September, October, and it was downhill sledding between gold and silver all the way. Gold not as much, obviously, as silver, but silver took the hit. It had been close to 50, and we saw it go into single digits almost during that time, during a couple of crashes, and now the worm has turned.
Yeah, it's not only turned, but it's turned in a big way. And if you look at silver just in the month of March, I mean, it was as low as 1164. Today, silver futures are trading above 2450. It's quite remarkable what we've seen, and this comes on the back of central bank money printing, not so much just from the Federal Reserve, but look what the European Union has done, the Bank of Japan has done, the People's Bank of China, and every other central bank that you want to throw into the mix. They're all doing the same thing, and people are telling you, or I should say the price of the precious metals are telling you, wow, we better get some. And you know who else is buying precious metals? Central bankers themselves. So that should tell you everything you need to know. The move now, though, we should say is parabolic. So anytime precious metals go parabolic, or anything for that matter, any equity, you're going to get a pullback at some point. It doesn't mean this move is over. We might even go a bit higher before we do pull back, but we are setting the stage now for a pullback.
Okay, and I'm looking at eBay prices of silver. A 1 ounce buffalo, that's just a bullion coin. I don't even know if it's put out by the U.S. government. I don't think so. I think only the Eagles are. I could be wrong, though. $27.74. So that's a good $4 higher than the price we're getting quoted on the spot right now. So like you say, this move's got a ways to go, but a pullback seems healthy at this point, right?
Yeah, I think a pullback would not only be healthy, especially for silver, because silver has really had a soaring move for the month. If you take a look at the start of the month of July, silver is trading on the futures around $17.99. Now it's trading upward of $24.50. So that would be very, very good. But I want to point something out about silver. So you got this breakout move and it's gone parabolic, but this breakout move is occurring at the low end of a monthly chart. That tells me this is the start of a bigger move to come. So, again, when I see these big surges at highs of charts, it's usually the end. But we're seeing this silver move starting, around in the month of March. It's at the low end of the chart. I mean, basically, we're only back to where we were in silver of 2013. So just think about it. If we go back to the 2011 high, that's all the way up around $50. That occurred in April of 2011 for silver. There's a lot more upside potential down the road. So you wait for that silver pullback, and that's where you get in. And if you listeners out there want to get into actual bullion and own the metal themselves and take possession, that's when you want to do so. I have no problem if anybody wants to do it even here, because I still think it's on sale. And, we've been pounding the table about that for a while.
Oh, for years.
But, silver is actually the place where you want to be, because this has a lot of room to run, and it still is playing the catch-up game. It's got to catch up to the price of gold, at least in the ratio of it, and it's still not even close.
Oh, for sure. And if you look at the 30-day performance of gold during the past 30 days on the spot market, it's up $173 the ounce. almost 10% increase here. And that's just in the last 30 days. The 1 year change year over year is 37.1%. It's up $526 the ounce because it was trading, right around $1,400 and change a year ago this time. And everyone was saying, well, maybe this, maybe that. One guy who's kind of gotten it right, but it probably will turn out to be conservative, is the guy from Kitco, Peter Hugg, their senior analyst. He was saying it would close the year at, I think, 1,911. So Peter's probably going to have to adjust his numbers. But you know what? It could pull back and close right around there. You never know. We've got 5 more months left in the year, Nick.
There's a lot of time left in the year, and you also have a presidential election coming up too. So we could see a lot of wacky type moves going forward. As we all know, this election is probably the most politically charged election in my lifetime, maybe ever. So, you can see a lot of whipsaw, a lot of erratic movement, both on the upside and downside, not only in precious metals, also in bond yields, also in other instruments like oil, copper, anything commodity related. So get ready. This is going to be a wild one going forward.
Yeah, it's like the bucking bronco, if you will. Hey, so so let's go on to vaccines. Everything is coming up. Vaccines. They're pushing this thing. The government just paid, I think, Pfizer and a couple of others $1.5 billion to start producing a COVID-19 vaccine.
Yeah, right now that's what we have. This Moderna is one of the names, MRNA. It's higher this morning on a new round of government funding and the start of phase 3 trials. Again, they're going to change. This drug goes in there and it changes your RNA. And, I don't know if how many people are really going to be lining up for this thing. I certainly won't be on that line. But it seems to lift the markets, and you got similar RNA vaccines out there being touted by AstraZeneca, Pfizer, J&J, and I believe a couple of other companies. So, again, this is the hot news. This is what everybody listens to each and every day when we come into the market. And that mRNA, which is Moderna, that stock today is up about $5.50. So, we have to keep an eye on these things. And we'll see how they play out. But they are entering phase 3 trials right now. So I think there's 30,000 candidates taking this drug. So we're going to see what this thing does.
God. This is, to me, Moderna is like the tobacco stocks of yesteryear. I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole,
I'm with you in that camp, Kerry. But it's not just Moderna. They're really the powers that be that are touting this stuff. This is Bill Gates is very much in line with this drug. He's been touting it highly, and Fauci, Dr. Fauci. So you have to look at this stuff and say, wow, are they going to take it first? If they take it first, maybe that might be something to look at. But we'll see if they take it first.
Yeah, it almost doesn't matter who takes it first, Nick. Well, So we talked about the Fed is the ultimate vaccine against bear markets in the stock market. We're seeing that for sure. But it's also, I think, the commodity prices, particularly copper, gold and silver, even platinum, which was was a total dog for years. Even platinum is going up now. We'll start probably to see it in the base metal soon. I think we're seeing commodity price inflation like we talked about before.
Yeah, and don't forget, too, the dollar has fallen. So the dollar has really, sold off pretty sharply this month. I mean, in all fairness, the U.S. dollar index, which is the dollar versus a basket of 6 currencies, most heavily weighted currencies in that basket are the euro, the British pound, as well as the Japanese yen. The dollar index was at 97.61 this month at the high. It's now at 93.48. So it's had a pretty good little drop, and that also helps everything commodity-wise. So, again, the trick to this market is to get the dollar down, it seems. And with all the Fed printing, that has certainly been the catalyst. But people don't realize that the printing is not only here. It's also in the EU. It's in the Bank of Japan. I can't tell you even what China did because nobody really knows, but we know that they juiced up their market to get their stock market higher. So they did a lot of money printing themselves. I mean, this all has to be repaid at some point. So again, that's why we're seeing these precious metals really take off. I just don't know how this can ever really be repaid.
Yeah, and Debt Jubilee, one, I guess, newsletter writer promoter had a whole thing that they sent out over the weekend that we're heading for a debt jubilee. That's the only way this thing can work because the debts are too onerous to be paid off. There's just too much debt. And the only way to get rid of it, well, you can pay it off, which we can't do. You can inflate it away, which will have disastrous consequences. Or you can forgive it, which will also have disastrous consequences, but different type of disastrous consequences. At least the currency won't go down the toilet. But we're going to get to a point where they're going to have to choose either, inflate it away or forgive it, because something has to give.
It's like that old show Monty Hall used to host, Let's Make a Deal. You want to choose A box, B box, or C box? I don't know which choice is going to be chosen here, but in the next 10 years, if we have that left, there'll have to be one of those choices. And like you said, there's really only three.
Yeah. Yep, that's for sure. Bankruptcy. You liquidate it, but that's a form of jubilee when you get down to it. It's like a legalized form of jubilee. So what about our sectors here? Anything popping out at you right now?
Yeah, there are a few sectors popping out. I mean, honestly, you have a great move today in the transports. I'm going to be looking at a lot of transports today. Today we have the transportation index up about $110. It's about a 1% move. But the pattern on the transports, in my opinion, looks pretty good right now. So I like the transports. That's going to be an area I'm going to be looking at this afternoon, potentially to get into something transport-wise. Now, with that being said, the airline stocks are all lower today. So I don't know if I'll be jumping on the airline bandwagon, but I will say that the transports as a whole look good. The airlines still might have a little bit more downside in the near term. They're not really showing a whole lot of strength. They're not down much, but the airlines still aren't really primed yet, but they're getting closer. So I would keep an eye on them, but not yet. I like other transports like the rails better. We may be looking at FedEx or UPS or companies like that, maybe some logistic companies looking good as well. Then you have the home builders today. They're too high on the chart for me. They broke out without me, but we were talking about them looking very, very strong. Home builders are looking strong. Some restaurant stocks, I think, are worth taking a little bit of a glance at. So I'll be looking at those a little bit later as well today. And as always, I'm always looking at the hotel stocks. Hotels have had a really, really good pullback. And again, you have a nice sell-off in them today. Hyatt, Marriott, and Hilton, they're all lower. So those are on my radar. Maybe not today as a trade, but coming up shortly, I think they could be something that catches my eye.
Hey,
pattern pending.
So McDonald's, it's trading back up close to 200 now again.
It's actually over 200 now. It's $202 in McDonald's.
Last I looked, it was 198. So we kind of missed that we missed that boat too, huh?
Well, we had McDonald's. We made some money on it. Then I got stopped out of the second half of McDonald's, and I actually thought we would sell off a little bit more to get a nice re-entry. I never like to re-enter a trade higher than where I just got stopped out. I always like to go lower, but unfortunately it didn't happen. So yeah, I did miss the second time on that play, but here that stock now sits around $202 this morning.
Yeah, just remember, if you're going to Mickey D's, make sure you bring your mask with you. I think they passed a nationwide rule for all the McDonald's.
Yeah, the mask seems to be the thing that's happening now everywhere we go. Everybody requires a mask. I don't know if anybody notices it, but I've now seen 3 people pass out from a mask. So I can't tell you how healthy I think that is. I'm completely against it. But everybody should do their own research on it.
Yeah, and look, if the choice is wear a mask or we're going to shut everything down, we'll take the masks, reluctantly so. We don't want them. But look, if that's your choice, because the politicians, Nick, have to look like they're doing something. And not to get too deep in the weeds, but we saw where the numbers are totally skewed. They've been upping the numbers in Florida and Texas, even where Mexican nationals coming over the border to Texas with COVID-19, and they get included. We had a guy who got killed in a motorcycle accident, and his was a COVID death. And, you just wonder where this ends.
Well, just in Palm Beach County, I believe an investigative reporter just found 8 fake COVID deaths in a couple of hours. So, they were just all labeled COVID, and they were not even anything close to COVID. And the testing too. I mean, I know people now that have tested positive and negative in the same day. So that's kind of amazing. And, you can't really, believe anything now. It's just so out there now. So, I mean, if people do their own due diligence, they'll see it for themselves.
Yeah, could not agree with you more. And you wonder when it's going to end. Probably it's going to end right after the election. That just seems to be part of a plan, but we don't want to get into politics because this is a family show after all, Nick, and we don't deal with pornography, right?
That's right, Kerry.
Yeah. So anyway, I guess we'll leave it at that. Go take a look at inthemoneystocks.com. That's Nick's site, and up to the minute trading record, all of Nick's wins and his few losses for years going back, and then a lot of other valuable info there. The Twitter feeds at ITMS, at Nick Santiago01, at Kerry Lutz. Write us with your questions, and the email address is kl@kerrylutz.com. Nick, we will catch up with you tomorrow.
Thank you, Kerry. Have a great day.
This concludes another episode of Daily Market Wisdom with Master Trader Nick Santiago. For more information, go to inthemoneystocks.com and see Nick's full trading record, or check out the Twitter feeds at ITMS and at Nick Santiago 01.